Hey guys, it's Kingdom Orange 2 here, and welcome back to my channel. Alright guys, so for today's video, I thought it would be a lot of fun if we sat down and ranked all of the Senshi from Sailor Moon. Now this list will contain both Sailor Guardians from the TV show and manga. However, I decided to not include sailors from the musical, phages, or sailors that acted as villains. I went back and forth with my decision on whether or not to include the Amazonas Quartet, Galaxia, and the Sailor Animates, but ultimately decided they would be better suited for another villains video. So with all that finally out of the way, let's get on with this list. Number 14 is Sailor Kakyu. So Sailor Kakyu was talked about so much, and we were all so happy when she finally revealed herself from the incense burner. However, literally only an episode and a half after she appears, she gets taken out by Sailor Galaxia. We never even get to see her transform in the anime. Now, we do get to see her transform into a Sailor Guardian in the manga, but again, almost as quickly as she appeared, she gets taken out by Sailor Chi. And while I'm not even really sure how Nako Takeuchi could have made her better, but maybe keeping her around for longer would have helped her case. Number 13 are the Sailor Starlights. I feel like on paper, the idea of the Sailor Starlights sounds really interesting, but in practice it isn't. Their story is quite interesting, as they are 3 aliens from a faraway planet who disguise themselves as pop stars in hopes of finding their missing princess, and I like the idea they change from boys to girls. Well, at least in the anime. But other than that, there isn't really much I like about them. They kind of read to me like a more aggressive version of the outer Senshi. 2 of them, Taiki and Yaten, have always been a bit uninteresting to me. Taiki is very quiet and Yaten seems to be aggressive all of the time. I do like Seiya, but I don't like how she's constantly flirting with Usagi when she knows Usagi has a boyfriend. She also seems to be very similar to Sailor Uranus, which I find interesting because they don't like each other. Number 12 is Sailor Chibi Chibi. I absolutely adore Chibi Chibi. She's so cute and nicely designed, and she has a lot of really funny moments in the anime. But in all honesty, I couldn't really place her any higher on this list for a couple of reasons. As much as I love Chibi Chibi, I felt like she was just a replacement for Chibi Usa in the last season. There's also the fact that Chibi Chibi doesn't really say anything except for her name, or repeating the last few words of someone else's sentence. She does talk a lot more in the manga, but not really that much. One thing I will say though is that I'm not crazy about who she turns out to be in both the anime and manga. I kind of wish they would have made Chibi Chibi her own unique character, or maybe the daughter of Sailor Moon or Chibiusa. Number 11 is Sailor Cosmos. So right above Chibi Chibi, we have her actual form in the manga, which is Sailor Cosmos. I really love Sailor Cosmos' design and think the idea of an ultimate Sailor Guardian for the universe is a really cool concept. The problem is, though, we don't really know much about her, and we aren't really entirely sure who exactly she is. There's also the fact that her goal was kind of a failure, and we never find out what ended up happening to her. Number 10 is Sailor Mercury. I think that Sailor Mercury has a lot of positive qualities. She studies really hard, and she's smart, and she wants to be a doctor. But to me, I feel like a lot of the time she fades into the background, and I think part of it is due to her super shy personality. I used to relate to Ami a lot more when I was in high school because she was super hardworking, and I felt like I worked really hard to get good grades as well. However, part of me now wonders why she wants to become a doctor so badly when she's literally going to be best friends with the Queen of the Earth in a couple of years. I would rather just sit back and enjoy all the benefits. Number 9 is Sailor Neptune. I just know that I will receive a lot of hate for putting her so low on the list, but just try to hear me out. I can understand why so many people like Sailor Neptune. She's extremely mature, she's sophisticated, she's very good at the violin. People love her relationship with Sailor Uranus, and in a show with a lot of crazy teenagers, she's very level-headed. But for me, I could never really make a connection with her. She is super serious, and as a person who is the complete opposite, I cannot relate. I love seeing her parent Hotaru, but I think what doesn't help her case is the fact that she and Sailor Uranus were essentially anti-heroes when they were first introduced in the story. Number 8 is Sailor Jupiter. At the beginning, I felt like Sailor Jupiter stood out from the rest of the group as she was this super tall, tough tomboy, but once Uranus and the Starlights were introduced, it seemed like her uniqueness kind of faded. Now, Sailor Jupiter has a special love for cooking and gardening, which are personally hobbies that I both hate. But they seem to be useful considering the fact that if 13 years old, she lives by herself in an apartment, which I don't understand how she has the money to do this or hasn't been taken by foster care, but I digress. One thing that kind of bothers me about Makoto is her constant nostalgia with her former crush. I understand that at such a young age, her first love is a big deal, but the constant need to bring him up every time she crushes on a new guy gets annoying real fast. Number 7 is Sailor Saturn. Sailor Saturn is a bit hard to rank on this list because the way in which she appears in the animated show and manga is almost like a separate entity than Hotaru Tomo. I like Hotaru, and I think her relationship with Chibiusa was very cute. And for a girl that I mostly remember for coughing on the floor, she is still one tough cookie. I love that Hotaru isn't afraid to sass Kaolinite, as well as be willing to fight Mistress 9 for not only her body, but to protect her from Chibiusa's and the other Sailor Guardian souls. The only thing though that always kind of bothered me was Sailor Saturn's new personality when she is reborn. She becomes this super intelligent child genius who grows at a rapid rate until Hotaru is back to the age she was before she died, or maybe a tad younger. I'm still not really sure about that, but I felt no sort of resemblance to Hotaru. I know that she's technically Sailor Saturn, but if she was reborn with the same name, I would figure her personality would be similar. However, I've already spoken about how confusing reincarnation can be in the Sailor Moon universe, so I guess I'll just leave it at that. Number 6 is Sailor Chibi Moon. I really don't understand all of the hate Chibiusa gets. I know that she can be a bit annoying at times, but I think she's funny and adorable. She reminds me of the younger sibling I always wanted, or maybe hated my parents for having, I don't know. I do really enjoy a lot of her transformation sequences with Usagi and her attacks, especially Pink Sugar Heart Attack. And as much as I enjoyed seeing her grow up, more specifically in the manga, I wish they would have ended it with Chibiusa being physically and mentally the same age as Usagi instead of Hotaru, because I always felt like Hotaru was way too young to be a Sailor Senshi in the first place. Also, can someone explain to me what was going on in her relationship with Mamoru? I wouldn't say anything inappropriate is going on, and it's really just an innocent fondness or crush. But I still think that it's weird that the writers had Chibiusa kiss her dad on the lips. Number 5 is Sailor Uranus. When I was rewatching this series for this video, Sailor Uranus really started to grow on me. I like how she's androgynous and wears whatever she wants to, as well as not really identifying as one gender or another. I think Sailor Neptune and her intentions are good, but they both go about their mission in such a horrible way. Sailor Uranus isn't above threatening to kill both Usagi and Hotaru. I don't feel like it is as big of a deal as the inner Senshi made it out to be, especially since these girls are often reincarnated over and over throughout the series. But the one thing that kind of bothers me about Haruka is her flirting with Usagi. I know that Michiru does the same with Mamoru, but to go as far as kissing Usagi just makes me feel weird and questionable. Number 4 is Sailor Pluto. You know the type of girl who you love and you feel she's a sweetheart, but she has horrible friends? That's exactly how I feel about Sailor Pluto. I really like Pluto, but I don't like her hanging out with the other outer Senshi. However, I can understand why she does this because her age and maturity level is different from the inner Senshis. But I do appreciate that she's the most reasonable in her group and will at least try to mediate with Sailor Moon. I did also like her relationship with Chibiusa, even though I sort of felt like Setsuna brushed her off when she was reborn. In all honesty, Sailor Pluto is just a mystery that nobody will ever be able to understand. Number 3 is Sailor Mars. I'm actually one of the very few people who prefers her personality in the anime to the manga. As I already said earlier, I'm not a very serious person, so I can relate to Rei a bit more in the cartoon. However, while I will acknowledge that while I do enjoy most of her insults, sometimes it can come across way too aggressive, especially in the first season, and I wish they would have kept in the distrust she had towards men from the manga to the anime. I really like how Nako Takeuchi gave Sailor Mars psychic abilities, and I think she has some of the best attacks, as well as the fact that she's a priestess at the Hikawa Shrine. Even though I am a bit confused as to how Rei would remain religious in this world that kind of proves Greek mythology is real, but not really. But honestly, I can't really complain about that because it's not an issue that is exclusive to Sailor Moon, but in all fiction related to magic. Number 2 is Sailor Moon. Sailor Moon is my spirit animal. I relate to everything about her, her constant whining, how all she wants to do is eat, and how she never takes anything as serious as she should be. I also like the fact that even though she has the literal weight of the world on her shoulders, she's still able to focus on teenage things, like avoiding studying for her high high school entrance exams or getting tickets to see the three lights. I do additionally enjoy seeing her mature throughout the manga. In the anime, she also shows signs of maturing, but usually goes back to her old self at the start of every season. One thing though that really kind of annoys me about Usagi is that she is obsessive over Mamoru. I can't really blame her because it seems like every female villain is trying to get with him, but at times it can be a tad overbearing. Finally, at number 1 is Sailor Venus. I know that I will get a lot of hate because Sailor Venus is very much a prototype Sailor Moon. However, I feel like Sailor Venus is a better protagonist than she is. While her and Usagi's personalities are very similar to each other, Sailor Venus is more competent in handling the stressful situations that are thrown their way, which is probably why she's the quote-unquote leader of the inner Senshi. I really love Minako's dreams of wanting to be a teen idol, as they seem the most realistic for someone who is 14 years old, even though I'm not exactly sure if that means she wants to be a singer, an actress, or just an all-around celebrity. And finally, I loved her manga codename Sailor V, as well as her sailor outfit because orange is my favorite color. Sailor Venus also has some of the best themed spells. I know love isn't technically an element, but how Nako Takauchi connected her love powers to the goddess Venus is just genius. So those were my thoughts on each of the Sailor Senshi. Make sure to tell me down below who your favorite Sailor Senshi is, as well as what you think about my rankings. I plan on potentially doing a video for the Sailor Moon villains. I'm just not sure how to split it up, so if you're interested in seeing it, tell me down below. Also, feel free to check out my Instagram and TikTok pages. It's the same username for both, and I love connecting with all of you guys and hearing your opinions. If you liked this video today and want to see more content in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and I will see you soon. Bye!